Hollow Knight is a beautiful game, and it's a game that I love a lot, especially its visual identity. The art, the characters, the atmosphere, I vibe with all of that a lot. Every character is so simple, and yet so full of personality, and that's something I really admire. So, as another one of my quirky art projects, I decided to take that visual identity and apply it to the entire roster of characters in Super Smash Bros. The idea here is simple. I redesign all of these Smash characters as if they were bugs in the Hollow Knight universe, taking in account all the races, species, shapes and roles from that world and mashing everything up. I tried replicating the actual game's style as best as I could, as if you could actually find these characters in Hollow Knight as NPCs, and hey, I think I succeeded. Hopefully. I wanted to draw these characters mirroring how the NPCs appear in the game itself. Simple designs with remarkable features that stand out, very light shading and faded out colors. I wanted to mirror the game's aesthetics as much as possible. You may have noticed that I did a video drawing just a few of the Smash characters this way before, but I decided to turn it up a notch and just draw everyone, because I love them. They're all my children. And also, we're gonna be talking about all these characters as if they're actual NPCs in a sort of spin-off Hollow Knight game, so we determine which roles they'd play in the story and what they do and all that. Before I begin though, please subscribe and like the video. Art videos like this take a lot of work, so I really wanted to pay off, you know. Especially this one where I drew like 90 characters. It was a big project, and my goal for this year is to be able to reach 10,000 subscribers, so I'd appreciate it if you could help me achieve that goal. Thank you. Also, make sure to comment which one of these designs was your favorite. I seriously would love to know. Without further ado, let's start with number 1, Mario. Starting with Mario, of course, if you watch my previous video, you may notice that he looks a bit different now. I thought his original drawing looked too safe, so I redrew him in a better pose and even added this universe equivalent to a question block, so now being this sort of glass block trapping a firefly inside, so it's kinda like he's going around freeing them as he runs along. So he's basically this short little warrior dude. His body is the traditional beetle body you see with many of the NPCs, and I added this sort of mushroom armor to him to mimic the silhouette of Mario's clothing and his head, of course. Plus it's mushrooms, and he's Mario, you know, it all matches out. At first I kinda wanted him to be one of the vessels, like the knight himself, but I think he works best as a separate NPC you meet in your journey. Given that I gave him this sort of roundish, chubby body, and the mustache, of course, couldn't have done this without a mustache. He'd probably be the kind of NPC you'd find resting after having jumped around, saving the little trapped fireflies, and he could maybe even be a hidden boss battle after you found all the firefly question blocks in the game, so yeah. Number 2, Link. With Link, his main inspiration was Squirrel. I thought the fact that he seems to wear like a sort of hat thingy there could translate well with Link's long green hat, and the body type work well too. I think one of the most remarkable things in Hollow Knight characters is that a lot of them have these white faces with just 2 big black dot eyes. It can be a face or a mask or a shell or an eye, I guess, but it's sort of a constant in a lot of the characters. So I carried that to a bunch of the designs I did. And a lot of them also just have various types of horns in lots of different shapes. So for Link I gave him 2 horns resembling like a spiky hair kind of thing, and one pointy one resembling his Highland ears. His body resembles Squirrel's body but in green, and his sword and shield is like a very simplified version of the Master Sword and Hylian shield. The sword looking like a nail, and the shield sort of resembling the shield that Tiso carries around with him. I'd imagine he's the sort of character that you'd find and have like some quirky no dialogue interaction, you know, like maybe he gives you an item to use somewhere and just wordlessly walks away, up to the point that you just sort of meet up with him a few times around the map, and in the final one you discover what his goal was all along. Like maybe there's a hidden boss battle somewhere and he helps you out. I think that'd be kinda cool. Number 3, Luigi. I kinda went in a different direction from Mario with Luigi. I didn't think it was necessary to include his head in any way. I think his face and body language makes it clear who this is supposed to be. I made him super tall and lanky with his beetle-ish body, and the horns on his head are supposed to resemble Luigi's hair when he's not wearing his traditional cap. He has a black mustache to mirror Mario's, and his eyes are like scared and stuff, and I put his hands close together like that to bring home the fact that he's, you know, insecure. So I'd imagine that in the game he'd be an NPC that you find earlier on being sort of scared and talking about his brother who he believes is invincible and a great warrior and all that. And the irony of that would then be meeting Mario later on and seeing this dude who you think is a huge warrior actually being a sort of little short stubby man who can actually kick ass. Number 4, DK. A base DK off of Barloon, who is a sort of hidden NPC you find that is actually like a huge worm thingy that sprawls all over one of the levels of the game, and his face blinks, which is kinda disturbing to me. He has a large sort of roundish body, so I thought that'd be fitting for DK. His head has some horns that resemble DK's hair, and he's wearing some red cloth on his neck there to resemble his tie. I think he'd be like one of those sort of characters you find that look sort of calm and harmless, but is actually super dangerous beast to fight in maybe like a hidden boss fight or something like that. Number 5, Kirby. I based Kirby off of one of the green troop NPCs. They're already red in color, so all I did was make that a bit pinker and make his body red super round with cute little blue eyes to resemble Kirby. He'd probably just be a random NPC that jumps and flies around to mess with you, like one of those really annoying enemies that you hate seeing, but he's cute, so we can forgive him. Number 6, Fox. He is based off of the flea NPCs from Silksong. Since Fox is a furry dude, I thought it'd be pretty fitting to base him off of those dog-looking species, especially their leader. His antennas there are sort of bent in a way that makes the silhouette look like Fox's ears, and he has a green shell-like body similar to the Flea Master's blue one. And he's wearing like some small pieces of armor on his arms and legs there to mirror the gray parts of Fox's outfit. And the little gun he's holding is actually the gun item that Hornet can find in the game, and he'd be an NPC that you find amongst the flea people, being a sort of protector to them, as well as maybe being a kind of a bounty hunter type character, I think. Speaking of bounty hunters, number 7, Samus. So Samus actually has had a few different people give a shot at drawing her as a character in Hollow Knight, probably because the game is a Metroidvania, a genre that started with her series, Metroid. So all I did was take this design that a bunch of people made different versions of and just do it in my own style, so props to the people who made this before me. I mean, I think I definitely made her more detailed and, let's say, realistic, quote unquote, than a Hollow Knight NPC should be, but I couldn't help myself. The idea here is that this isn't really an armor, this is supposed to be her body itself, and her helmet is her face. It's just shaped like Samus' original helmet. Her gun is like a crustacean shell, and I made her chest area there a red color so it stand out more and made it clearer that it's Samus. And gave her some blue light thingies around there too, to make it look like she's running on lifeblood. And I gave her those weird digitigrade legs that I think are fitting for a bug character. I think she'll be a character that you find after the end of a long streak of difficult fights, either being the final most difficult fight or the one to give you a reward. Or, you know, probably both. Number 8, Zero Suit Samus. So the idea here was that with Samus being a bug whose body is, you know, like that, if she gets hit and loses all her lives, she'd go into Zero Suit Samus mode. In Hollow Knight, when you lose, you turn into a shade, and in Metroid, when you lose all your armor and you turn into Zero Suit Samus. So I mixed the two ideas into one. Zero Suit Samus is the shade version of Samus. And it's a simple design really, it's supposed to look how Samus does in her Zero Suit, but super dark and floaty like the shades in Hollow Knight. Come on, I can't be the only one who thought it was a clever idea. Number 9, Pikachu. Pikachu here is based off of the bee species, more so looking like the small bee enemies that are super annoying, but with a slightly more elongated body. He remains with the brown fur that the bees have, and I decided to shape his bee wings into the silhouette of Pikachu's ears, which I think it turned out pretty cute. And imagine he'd be the character you find hidden inside the beehive doing something cute, not an enemy or anything, just kinda there. Number 10, Pichu. He's very similar to Pikachu, just smaller and cuter, more friendly looking too. His stripes are also a bit lighter because I thought that made him look younger. He'd probably just be hanging around Pikachu, like he's his baby, you know, so that's pretty wholesome. Number 11, 12, and 13, the Pokemon Trainer Pokemon. Here's a 3-for-1 combo, the 3 Pokemon in the Pokemon Trainer character, except I didn't draw the trainer himself, sorry. But there's Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard. Squirtle is the simplest one, really. He's the one that looks the most like one of the more default bug enemies that you find in the early game. I just added a little bug thing there to look like his tail. With Ivysaur, I took inspiration from those awful and annoying flying enemies that everyone hates. He has a similar face and body, even though he's not a flying dude. And he has some leaves there with some little, like, colored bubbles there on top to mimic Ivysaur's flower. They're supposed to be sort of like the orange infection bubbles that you find around in the original Hollow Knight, but pink, which means they're good, probably. Charizard was a bit harder, but I did something that I think turned out pretty fun. He's based on the Mantis species, specifically those annoying ones that fly around. I just made him similar to that, but a lot thicker to look like Charizard's round body. He has some thick thighs, 2 pairs of wings there, just like the other Mantis, and a big sting. I think they'd be the sort of characters that you find around in groups, and like each one of them has a quirky personality and talks over each other, you know what I mean? Number 14, Captain Falcon. Cap here is based off of the Dunk Defender, because I mean, come on, that's really fitting, right? They're both big muscular dudes who are super over the top and kind of full of themselves. I think it works. I just switched his body color to blue, except for his hat, which is red to look like Cap's helmet with his 2 antennae things there, now being shaped in a way that look like the golden falcon he has in his forehead. His claws and feet are golden to mimic Cap's boots and gloves, and I gave him some golden armor in his torso and shoulder areas there as well. I think it'd play a similar role to Dunk Defender, being a sort of boss character character that you fight and then later become friends with. Number 15, Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff here is supposed to be like a cute little worm with a mask that is based off of the banker lady's mask, that sort of hair thingy up front there. All I did was add some extra horns to look like Jigglypuff's ears, and yeah, I think it works. She's likely just be a silly little NPC you find around in city areas that really just can't defend herself very well. Poor thing. Number 16, Pit. For Pit, I thought it'd be fitting for him to be a vessel as well. Pit is a small guy who's, you know, the protagonist of his game, which like the knight is in Hollow Knight. Made his horn be a sort of random shape there, not super like entirely coherent with Pit's hair, but they're spiky and wild just like it, so I think it works. Has a golden bow and some leaves there, and some bug wings that are sort of similar to the Monarch Wings siren that you can find in Hollow Knight. It probably is the sort of NPC that doesn't really speak, but is instead guarding someone else that we will meet later. Number 17, Dark Pit. Dark Pit is pretty much the same as Pit, just like darker and edgier, almost like he's a fallen knight, you know, with his wings actually darkened and ripped apart, and his bow now is split in two, to be used as daggers, just like how the Pits do in Smash Bros. Number 18, Lucario. I based Lucario off of the moth species in the game, which I think is fitting given the wise and ethereal vibes they both give off. He has big red eyes that are sparkly and attracted to light, his ears on the top there are supposed to be like the funky antennas that the moths have in the game, and he has a bunch of fur on his neck like the moths have as well, and a few additional ones on the back there that like mimic those ear fur thingies that Lucario has, and he has like those things that bugs have on the low area there, and I think that's an abdomen. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but it's supposed to reflect Lucario's tail. And I think just like the other moths in the game, he'd probably be like a wise character that speaks in riddles and probably does some weird stuff. I don't know. Number 19, Olimar. Okay, so this might be a bad look for poor Olimar here, but I thought it'd be kind of funny if I modeled him after the fluke species that appear in the game. I guess it was because those big mouths they have could sort of be styled into looking like the shape of Olimar's big nose, which I think is his most noteworthy feature. They also have this little girl's hair on the back there that I tried to push up to resemble Olimar's hair. He's using one of those jellyfish enemies at his big astronaut helmet, and his Pikmin are those little thingies that you may find walking around the game. I don't know what they're called if I'm honest. I think he looks funny, and he'd probably be an NPC in the game that's like one of the only flukes that can talk and articulate thought, and not just being another monster to slay. Number 20, Wario. Wario is pretty simple. He's inspired by these weird, round, very annoying enemies that you find in the Coliseum, except to just kind of remove the armor or give him his quirky mustache. Plus he has two golden things on the top of his head there to look like Wario's biker goggles. He'd be the sort of NPC that you find around and just sort of makes fun of you all the time. Number 21, Diddy Kong. Diddy here is based on that species of thief enemies that you find occasionally in Silksong. I just remodeled the head and shirt to look like Diddy's outfit and gave them a red color as well. I made his body more brownish and I gave him some yellow wings to reference how Diddy is able to fly with his barrel jetpack, and the yellow color is to reference the yellow that Diddy has in his outfit. He'd be an NPC that you find near where DK hangs out, sort of trying and failing to be a guardian to him. Number 22, King DDD. DDD is based on the Chrom species, and there's some weird dudes like, are they even bugs? Are they actually just birds? Well, they do look like birds, which is why I based DDD off of them. I just gave him a big red coat and hood to mirror his original outfit, and instead of a hammer, he just has this huge like piece of wood there that I think is pretty funny. He has some fluff on his neck there and a golden jewel on his forehead to look like the thingy he has in his original design. It'd probably be a hidden character that you find in the Crawl's domain, but perhaps a friendly one? Maybe? Number 23, Meta Knight. I based Meta Knight's look after those void creatures that you use to platform on top of in the White Palace, which is funny because instead of being this useless creature that does nothing, he decided to grow some arms and legs and pick up a sword to be a warrior. The look is pretty similar, to be honest. It's simple, but it kinda ended up being one of my favorites just because of that. It'd be like a hidden boss fight in which you hit him to use him as a platform, but then he just morphs and becomes an enemy for you to fight right there. I think that's a pretty fun idea. Number 24, Little Mac. Little Mac is a pretty simple one, to be honest, given that he's a pretty small guy. I modeled him after the vessels like the knight himself, the difference being that he has a more bug-like body. His face has some horns to resemble Mac's hair, and I made some boxing gloves for him made out of shells. I think he'd probably be the kind of character you find around the game who's small but tough, and he's always challenging you, trying to prove he's a tough guy even though he's small, you know. Number 25, Mewtwo. So I didn't base him off of any specific species, he's kind of an amalgamation of features from different bugs. His face is based on this one jumping enemy that you find in Silksong, and he has like a tube in his nape that is like pumping infection into his brain. He has some mantis-like claws and a long tail with a metal stinger in the end, and those metallic areas there are like a kind of armor, sort of like the void soldiers you find in the White Palace. So it's kind of like he's this weird Frankenstein's monster thing made in the White Palace using void and multiple different bugs. So he'd be like a freaky, weird, hidden boss fight, which is pretty fitting for Mewtwo as a character. Number 26, Ness. He is inspired by Sharma from Silksong, one of my favorite NPCs just because he's so cute and nice. He has that same weird head that looks like a cymbal, but shorter and red to look like Ness' head, and his body is blue with a slight yellow lighting in the middle to look like the stripes in Ness' shirt. And instead of a backpack, he has like a sleeping bag, which I think is more fitting for a Hollow Knight character, and his yo-yo is actually a little green spider being held onto him with silk, so he'd be like a cute NPC that flexes his yo-yo abilities to you. Number 27, Lucas. I based Lucas off of the maggot species because they're both like small, cute, and round, and all I did was give him a more yellowish color and make his antennae in the shape of Lucas' hair. You'd probably find him in the game following Ness around and gushing about how cool he is. Number 28, Ike. Ike is based on the King's Mode enemies, but he's like one of them that sort of went rogue and left to do his own thing. The body shape and all that is still mostly the same with the forearms thing going on too, and the same silver armor that the King's Mode use, but I gave him a large blue shoulder pad to mirror like his original one, as well as a red cape that flows out of it. The helmet has been trimmed to now appear as Ike's bandana, which you can see the green part flowing behind there as well, and his void head is spiky to sort of look like his hair, and I gave him some bug mandibles too, just to make him stand out a bit more. His sword is supposed to be like a big piece of bone, just like how the Ant tribe in Silksong use weapons that are made out of bones and stuff. So he wouldn't be like a boss or anything, you'd probably meet up with him somewhere hidden, and he'd give some lore about the King's Mode and how he managed to escape it and all that, or something like that. Number 29, Mega Man. I based Mega Man off of those funky little mushroom enemies that jump around and do weird noises. All I did was shape the mushroom heads in a way that resembled Mega Man's helmet. The little dots on it are supposed to mirror the details his helmet has. I also added another little mushroom cap on his hand there to look like his arm cannon, which probably shoots like spores or something. It'd probably be like a really annoying enemy type that shoots you from afar, maybe even a sort of mid-boss too, and his face is basically always in that same dead-eye expression. Number 30, Robin. The main inspiration for Robin was one of the Moss Knights. They have those thingies on their heads there that I think are antennas, but they look like pigtails, so I used them for Robin. This fan Robin is 1,000 times better than regular Robin. Changed the color too, because I don't think green would fit Robin very well, so she has some soft gray fur there to match Robin's hair, and she's wearing a robe similar to the Knight's, but black and purple. Her sword looks sort of broken there because it's supposed to mirror that quirky sword that Robin uses sometimes, and she's holding a little round book too, because I thought that it would fit the Hollow Knight aesthetic better. She should likely be a hidden boss fight that uses her magic books to launch attacks at you, and then she teaches you some magic afterward. Number 31, Pac-Man. I based Pac-Man off of the Mistake enemy, which is a really unfortunate name for a creature. They're round and have a huge mouth, so all I did was make him more yellowish and add that big nose of his and the cut pie eyes that Pac-Man has. You'd probably find him amongst the other mistakes, but he'd be like the only sane one, you know? Number 32, Chun-Link. I based Chun-Link off of Garmon species, almost like he's a younger version of him. He's very similar to Garmon. I just shaped his head to look more like Link's, and I modeled the fur he has on his face there to look like his hair and hidden ears. He's also holding a little stick, similar to the one that Chun-Link has, and he has a life little fairy next to him to look like Navi. He'd be an NPC that you find around trying to play with his little fairy friend, just cute, you know? Number 33, Bowser. So I based Bowser off of the Bellbee species, because, you know, they have like a big shell and can turn into a ball and all that, or like how Bowser goes inside his shell and stuff. I just made it so now he's a standing up fellow, walking bipedally with two huge hands with big claws, and I also shaped his head so it looked like Bowser's horns and hair. I also made it so he's corrupted by the Radiance infection to add some of that orange to the design to make the colors closer to Bowser's original palette, because, you know, Bowser's not all white, unless he's Dry Bowser. He'd likely be one of the main bosses in the game, and a really tough one at that. Number 34, Bowser Jr. Jr. is of course based on the little Bellbee's puppies you meet in the later part of the game in Silksong. All I did really was shape the head so it matched the shape of Bowser's head, but smaller and cuter. He's flying on top of this silver enemy here, which is an enemy that appeared in one of the trailers for Silksong, but not in the game, I guess. I gave him some green wings as a nod to the green in Jr.'s design, and made him rounder and cuter to look like the clown car. He'd be a recurring enemy that you chase around after you defeat his dad, sort of wanting revenge and stuff, you know? Number 35, Villager. He's inspired by some of the enemies you find in Silksong, those weak ones that hold bells around looking sort of like cold people, I don't know. His head spikes there are supposed to mirror Villager's fringe, but pointed upwards. And the big bell staff there is a reference to his bug catcher thing, and he has a little blue jewel on his chest there, as a reference to the blue that Villager has in his shirts as well. He'd likely be like a sort of annoying NPC that walks around doing bell noises. To hit him, then he gets sad. Aww. Number 36, Isabelle. For Isabelle, I did this cute little critter that is just filled with bells all around. Again, Silksong for some reason just absolutely loves bells everywhere, so I thought it was fitting. I mean, her name is Isabelle, after all. I just put bells in place there to replace her ponytails and ears, as well as her entire outfit. And her face is actually inspired by this one leafy enemy, and I thought the leaves resembled the bangs in Isabelle's hair, so, you know, there we go. She'd be an NPC you'd find hidden, for which you can sell all the bells you find in your journey for a big profit. And she'd probably do a cute dance afterwards that make her bells do like a little song too, so that sounds kinda nice. Number 37, Banjo and Kazooie. I based Banjo off of the one dude that plays music from the Green Troop, but obviously I made the design a lot different. He has a big horn on his face to look like Banjo's nose, and his cloak has some stumps there that look like his ears. They're not really supposed to be ears themselves, it's just like a silhouette thing. He has these floppy striped arms that are big and beefy, and his banjo is actually made out of this round bug he's probably suffering. And Kazooie is a red mantis youth, the ones that, you know, fly. You'd find this character basically playing his banjo near a fireplace, and he'd probably say something about how he and Kazooie became friends for life and, you know, some lore there. Number 38, Yoshi. He's inspired by this one cut enemy from the first Hollow Knight game, this weird caterpillar millipede thing with a huge round nose, and I mean, the huge round nose was just too good for Yoshi. The design is pretty similar to the enemy itself. I just made him more standy-uppy in the front there like Yoshi is, with his little hands hanging there cutely, and I made him green, of course. He'd be an NPC that you can actually call to you, so you can ride him around just like Yoshi. That'd actually be a really fun thing to have in Hollow Knight. Number 39, Simon. Simon was inspired by the final boss of the first act of Silksong, the Last Judge. I got the idea mostly because she uses this chain whip thing to attack you, just like Simon, and she's a brownish color that vibes well with him as well. So yeah, Simon is of the same species as the Last Judge here. He's a big and intimidating warrior dude. The design is pretty similar to the Last Judge, but I gave him that red jewel in his forehead, just like Simon has, and the long blonde flowing hair that I think is very iconic to him. You'd find him somewhere hidden, and you'd think it will be a boss fight, but it's actually a fake out, and that he'll just teach you a secret technique of sorts, because he's actually a pretty chill dude. Number 40, Richter. I made Richter inspired by a few different things. His body shape is similar to that of the ants in the ant tribe, at least in the limbs. His face is that white husk that we see in a lot of the characters in Hollow Knight, with the horns there just being sort of a random pattern to mirror Richter's hair. He has some blue clothing there with a few white bandanas strapped in his forehead and waist, and he has a whip similar to Simon's, just silver this time. That's because he's like his apprentice, you know. You'd find him somewhere close to Simon, where he'd maybe challenge you to a train fight or talk about his master or something like that. Number 41, Peach. I made Peach sort of similar to the butterfly Marissa found in the first game, with the flowing blonde hair. I even made it so the hair has these spikes there to look like similar to her crown. She has this bright blue eyes similar to the white lady's eyes, because she's like royalty and all. She has this dress that is made out of pink petals, which she probably got in the same place where she got her umbrella, which is also basically just a big pink flower. You'd find her before boss battles around the game, where she'd heal your health and save your progress, sort of like how benches work, but like as a character, because I think being a healer is very fitting for Peach. Number 42, Zelda and Sheik. Alright, so this one is special, because it was actually made by my friend Brianna. She's here on YouTube at the DDD channel, and at her group channel, Rune35. Go subscribe now. So yeah, she did the designs for Zelda and Sheik here. So I'll just let her take over for a second, so she can explain her process.
Boy howdy, hello there everyone. My name is Lindy B over here on YouTube, and I am briefly taking over this channel to present the character designs that Lime Did It asked me to make. So hot! For Zelda, I went with a body type heavily inspired by chakra. I thought the armored exterior would translate particularly well for the top part of her dress, and the horn shape of her head could be translated into two horns that reflect her ears. And the antennas that we see on some of Chakra's fan art and official art would work really well as the front hair strands. I essentially put her in a dress, since we see several Silksong characters with clothes, Hornet and Shurma wearing cloaks, and then Scar Singer, Carmelita, sorry if I am pronouncing that wrong, whose body looks very similar to a dress. I played around a bit with what the dress could look like with some of those more organic shapes like in Scar Singer's design, but in the end I went with something that was more dress-like because it felt like it was losing its attachment to Zelda. I was also playing around with how many of the smaller details in Zelda's design to implement here, but because the Silksong style involves a lot less of those smaller details within its characters, I ultimately simplified it to base shapes. Initially, I had kind of wanted to base her off of a monarch butterfly to reflect her royalty. In the end, I didn't go that direction, but I did want to maintain an idea of these wings because I thought they could carry over really well into Sheik's design as a way to connect them to each other since, you know, Sheik is Zelda. For Sheik's design, I carried over a lot of the same elements, particularly the body type as another way that connects the Sheik and Zelda designs. I kept the segmented chest like I did with the top part of Zelda's dress, but I added some additional more exoskeleton-y like armor, like in the shoulder pads. I had the wings essentially wrap over the head to mimic the head covering and took the antennas and twisted them around each other to reflect Sheik's braid. Similar to Zelda, I had another more complicated pattern element that I ended up simplifying at the end to match more of the game style. Yeah, well, thanks for letting me take over. I'll relinquish your channel back to you now. Bye!
Thank you very, very much, Brie. I think her designs turned out super awesome, and I hope you did as well. Again, go subscribe to her. She's a very talented artist and friend. Number 43, Snake. Snake was interesting because it wasn't really based on one thing. His limbs there, like Richter, are similar to the ant tribes, and his face just has a random pattern of horns that I thought looked interesting, with some mandibles too. His bandana there is actually based on the leaves that those horrible enemies in Biowater wear, and they sometimes attack you with stakes made of wood, so he has those as well there, working as Snake's CQC knife. So he'd be an NPC that would capture you and try to kill you, but you'd eventually be buddies with. Like, he at one point would sneak up on you stealthily, and you'd have a quick fight, but yeah, that's kind of it. Number 44, Mii Fighters. They were the simplest ones to do, really. They're based on the vessels too. The horns they have on their faces there are simply supposed to resemble the hair that the default Mii Fighters have. One is barehanded, the other has the traditional nail, and the gunner has that gun that you can have in silksong. I think this would actually be like the player character for this hypothetical game. Like, you can actually customize your appearance and choose your fighting style and all that. I think that'd be kind of fun. Number 45, Palutena. The inspirations for her were number 1, Marisa the singer, once again, and the White Lady. She has this segmented bug body, an idea that I got from Marisa, and this glowy blue divine-like eyes, just like Peach had. And the White Lady too, who herself is kinda like a deity too. Her horns there are supposed to resemble Palutena's hair accessory things that I don't know the name of, and her hair is actually not hair. It's more like a kind of cloth that's similar to the cloak that the knight wears. There's a little bug chest there that is connected to some white cloth that makes up Palutena's dress, and her shield is supposed to be like a bug shell. And her staff is supposed to be broken at the end there to sort of sell the idea that she's part of this destroyed kingdom. And the top there is like one of those lampposts in the game that has a little firefly, and then I think she'd be one of those characters that is very hidden and gives you an item that's probably useless and then say some cryptic stuff to mess with your mind, and she's the one that's being guarded by the pits. Number 46, Inkling. She's also not really based on any one specific thing. She has a regular bug body and white face with mandibles, but she's filled with this orange infection goop which makes up her hair and backpack. But she's actually not infected. She's immune and just carries the infection around as a weapon. And style, I mean, look at that hair. She'd be like an annoying enemy to defeat, but that should eventually befriend, and she'd teach you how to make little infection grenades to throw at your enemies. Number 47, Hero. Hero here was inspired by those enemies with scissors that you find in Silksong. He's kinda like one of them, but his head is now shaped like Hero's hair, with a flowing cape too. And he only has one half of the scissors now to act as a sword. And he has a cute shield made out of wood too. I think he'd be a sort of competitive rival dude. Like, he just challenges you all the time and loses miserably, like a Pokemon rivals. Number 48, Falco. Much like I did with DDD, I based Falco off of the Chrom species, since they're bird-ish, guys. I just gave him some grey robes with a red scarf, as well as a blue hood with a matching blue tail there, and I think the idea comes across, right? He'd be a sneaky enemy that tries to hit you from the shadows and then would be like super cocky about it, which is fitting for Falco, I guess. Number 49, Wolf. Wolf is funny because his face is based on this one sneaky enemy from Silksong. All I did was just make his body longer with this grey color to match Wolf's palette, with some purple cloth there to look like his jacket. He has some sharp claws and a big stinger butt there to mirror Wolf's tail, as well as some shoulder pads that I think really made the silhouette stand out better. You find him stalking you around the game, not really attacking you most of the time, until he gets you cornered somewhere and you have a secret boss battle. Number 50, Byleth. Byleth was an interesting one because I actually based her off of that one wood boss that you find in Silksong. They have this flowing green hair there that reminded me a lot of Byleth, so I just used it. And she actually has a golden whip, just like Simon had, since Byleth's main weapon is that golden sword that turns into a whip. I think that made the silhouette a lot more interesting. She has a very bug-like body with the abdomen area there being pretty like pointy, and I added that short blue cape there to complement her blue boots so that the design more closely resembles Byleth's original. She's actually like a rival to Simon, like she thinks she's a better whip user than him and all that, and she'd also teach you some valuable techniques. Number 51, Joker. Obviously I had to base Joker off of the Chrom character. I mean, just look at them. The real challenge was making them not look identical, which, hey, I think I succeeded. His hair here is more spiky and wild, and his cloak is not made out of rags like the green. Here it's more like a fancy overcoat, and he has a small nail to act as Joker's blade. He'd be a character that would shoot daggers at you from afar, and when you got to him, he'd simply congratulate you and give you like a throwing dagger item for you to use yourself, or something like that. Number 52, Griffith Trainer. She was inspired by Chakra, like she's a member of her species, but blue instead of yellow. I mean, Chakra has these antennae on her head there that just looks sorta like ponytails, so I'd use that for Griffith Trainer. Only now she only has one instead of two, and her body is of course blue, in a way that looks like she's wearing a traditional tank top. So she's a character that you fight in towns and stuff, and she would train you, like maybe with a quick fight or just teaching you a new trick. Number 53, Greninja. So what I did for Greninja is sort of mix up the head shape of the Mantis Lords to have that blue silhouette for his ears and pale face complexion, and big red bulging eyes that are similar to the Seer Moth character, which means that I don't know what kind of bug he even is, but who cares. He has some fake thighs just like Greninja has originally, and some red hags of cloth around his neck to look like his tongue scarf. Tongue scarf is just a weird concept. You'd find him stalking you around the map, and whenever you got close, he used like a smoke bomb and disappeared, but if you hit him fast enough, you'd unlock some hidden dialogue with him. Number 54, Sonic. Okay, so maybe Sonic is a bit on the nose here, because the head shape is pretty similar to how he is originally, but I don't know, I thought it looked pretty cool. His main inspiration was the Sprint Master character that challenges you for a race in Silksong. I mean, he's blue, and he's fast and runs, it was just a perfect fit. I tweaked his design a bit to have his belly more round, like Sonic's, and also added some long antennas in the back of his head there to add to his silhouette while he's running. You'd find him around the map posting about how fast he is and how you can beat him in a race, and you have the option to just sort of hit him and he'd like disappear by running away really fast. Number 55, Shulk. Took me a while to figure out what I was gonna do with Shulk, but I remembered that there's this one character called Vespa, the Queen of Bees, even though Vespa actually means hornet, and a hornet herself is not even a hornet anyway. So she was the main inspiration. Since Shulk is blonde, I just thought the yellow bee coloring would fit in pretty well, and I noticed that Vespa has that sort of tuft of hair around her neck, so I shaped that around his torso to make the silhouette of Shulk's iconic jacket, while coloring it to be a bit pinker, with pink wings as well. His big ass sword is one half of a pair of scissors with some lifeblood dripping from it to mimic the blue light that Shulk has in his sword. He's like an outcast bee warrior who left the tribe to follow his own path, and he tell you his story when you talk to him around a campfire or something like that. Number 56. Pyra. Pyra's main inspiration was the queen of the Ant tribe, Carmelita. I noticed she has these horns and some flowing things in the back of her head there, so I shaped those to be Pyra's hair and her cape. Is that a cape? She has a blue pearl on her chest there, like Pyra originally does, with long limbs and sort of thick thighs too, I guess, which I mean, the Ants all sort of have thick thighs, so, you know. And she has this big piece of bone to look like her big sword. I noticed that a lot of the Ant tribe characters have weapons and armor made of bones, and I think that's pretty cool, so there you go. To explain her role in the game, we have to look at her other half though. Number 57, Mythra. Mythra here is one I actually really like doing. Her main inspiration was these enemies from the Citadel that have these big robes and cloaks with a symbol in them. So she has this big cloak on her head there to mirror her hair, which I really like. Other than that, she keeps the armor that those enemies have on their shoulders, using the same big bone sword that Pyra had as well, along with the blue pearl on her chest too. And since Mythra is the fast one, I gave her some blue wings to sort of complement the look and add to her swiftness. Number 58, Aegis. Maybe it's weird to have the two of them together counted as a separate character like this, but whatever. So I think these two pair up really well. Their designs are very distinct while sort of keeping some subtle aspects that make them similar. Like, I'm thinking they would either be sisters in the lore, or Mythra would be Pyra's disguise as she infiltrates the Citadel and those coat looking dudes. I mean, you let me know which one of those ideas is better, because I don't know, really. Number 59, Incineroar. Okay, so I'm kinda proud of this one. His main inspiration was the fleas, specifically that really big one that has those sharp teeth and stuff. So Incineroar is this really big buff flea with a belt made out of those fire things that those annoying fiery enemies use. I mean, come on, isn't he really just sort of really cute though? I thought of making him red to look more like Incineroar's original color palette, but I decided that making him more similar to the fleas was more aesthetically pleasing, with the actual shape of his design doing more of the heavy lifting. His body is similar to that of the flea, master, and he has 2 small wings at the top of his head there that make up the silhouette of his cat ears. So he's like a big flea that is kinda dumb but nice, you know, like a himbo that likes to roughhouse, and he'd like challenge you to some training fights and stuff, but he's a good guy. Number 60, Cloud. Cloud is pretty straight to the point really, which I kinda appreciate. I just made him with a regular beetle body with 1 armor shoulder pad there to mimic Cloud's original one. His face is that normal pale head that the bugs normally have in the Hollow Knight universe, but with many spiky horns to mimic the silhouette of Cloud's hair. He has a big half scissor there as his sword, which I thought was pretty cool. And honestly, how Silksong introduced that enemy that uses scissors as his weapons made me think that they should have used this half scissor tactic for swords at some point, to be honest, because it works pretty well, especially for huge swords like that. And you'd find him around the map as a warrior who lost his memory and is trying to regain it, sort of like Quirky, I guess. But he'd be around and occasionally help you with some difficult fights. Number 61, Young Link. This one's pretty simple. I just made Young Link as one of the vessels, with his head horns there being shaped in a way that looks like his ears and head, sort of like how in Majora's Mask you can turn into a Zora version of Link that has a head shaped like his head, and his nail is that weird shape just to look like the sword that Link uses in his fierce deity form. It'd actually be a vessel boss fight as one of the vessels that found a powerful sword and decided to challenge the others. Number 62, Ganondorf. This was a hard one to do, but in the end I think it looks pretty cool. Basically, this version of Ganon is inspired by the beast form he takes on in his final smash, that big pig monster creature there. So like his face has some horns that make up the shape of his nose, ears, and well, the actual horns he has in his design originally, with long red flowing hair being in his back there, and a green orb in his forehead. Has green pupils too, so he like has a sort of green infection in his body, like the Radiance, except greens. That infection also sort of took his tail there, and as you can notice, it is sort of all broken up and torn, with some glowing green at the end, which is in reference to how he himself has a tail that glows green in the end. He has these big claws that are similar to that of the mantises, with some green infection orbs at the top there, and some shoulder pad armor there that is made out of bones. It'd be a secret boss fight that would have some hidden lore about a different branch of infection similar to the Radiance or the Lifeblood. Number 63, Daisy. Some years ago I made this version of Hollow Knight Daisy, and that was boring, so I reimagined her this time as a member of the Godseekers. I thought I could use their color palette to mirror Daisy's orange bits, while shaping her head ornaments and horns to look like her hair, and I think they turned out pretty good. She has this orb on her chest there to mimic Daisy's jewel, and the grey Godseeker robes and rags around her waist to look like her dress. And she uses that pin sword there that is very similar to Lace's blade, and that's just to mirror the umbrella that Daisy has in Smash. She'd be a lost member of the Godseekers, who abandoned them after getting tired of chasing after gods, who'll challenge you for a fight as she roams the world looking for an opponent worthy of a god. And then she become your friend after, because I mean, come on. Number 64, Corin. This is a weird one, but I based Corin off of the Grey Root character in Silksong. They have these tentacles that sort of made me think I could shape them to look like Corin's hair, because yes, femme Corin is way better than male Corin. So her entire body is just sort of made of these tentacles. I mean, Corin has grayish hair and grey clothing. I thought it makes sense to turn that into one thing here. Another clothing she actually has is this blue rags on her chest to match Robin's. And she's using this weird ass nail blade that's just supposed to look like Robin's chainsaw sword. She'd be a part of the Grey Root species, but a kind that doesn't wish to insert a parasite inside you. Jesus Christ, that was a freaky quest. Number 65, Rob. This was one of my favorite studios. Since Rob is a robot, I was inspired by the many different automatons you find and fight in Silksong, especially this one that you kinda sorta make friends with but also fight with. He has this cloth around his neck that I also gave to Rob as a reference to him. He's sort of square shaped but in a more subtle way, and instead of wheels he has some spider-like claws there that I thought would have a similar effect. Honestly, I really like how he turned out. I think he's cute. He'd just be a cute helper robot that would give you directions and maybe sell you an item or two. Number 66, Mr. Game & Watch. This is probably the simplest and silliest one. I just made it so Game & Watch is one of the shades. I mean, he's a pure black dude that sometimes has tentacles, so I thought it was fitting. Silly, but it's cute. You're just finding him like separated from the other shades as he exiles himself, because he's like weird. Number 67, Ryu. This was a fun one. I based Ryu off of the big annoying brutes from the Ants tribe, because that was a really annoying boss fight when I was starting off. He doesn't use any weapons though. He's a buff guy that uses his fists and body to fight. He's wearing a very torn up kimono there, and for his headband I decided to go with the white headband that Ryu used to wear, just because the red one didn't fit him super well with the red of his body, you know? He'd be like a super disciplined and composed warrior, but whenever he starts a fight, he'll just go all off and crazy, hitting you with everything he's got. Number 68, Ken. Ken was a quirky one. He was inspired by those enemies that you find in the fire area in Silksong. It's like one of them, but with his cloak torn up to look like Ken's kimono, and his head is shaped in a way that looks like he has Ken's flowing hair. He has some fire particles around him as a reference to those fire enemies, and to how Ken is actually pretty closely associated with fire as well. And he's got 4 arms too, cause why not? He'd be like a buddy of Ryu that teaches you how to use some fire moves in battle. Number 69, Terry. Now this is one that I actually really liked coming up with. So Terry's main color is red, which made me think it'd match for him to be a part of the ant tribe. The ants sometimes wear these brown cloaks, so I took that and shaped it so it looked like the silhouette of Terry's jacket. And for his head, it's made out of this animal skull that has this one long horn, so when you look at him, his silhouette looks like he's wearing Terry's cap. I don't know, man, I really liked coming up with that. He's in a cute little fighting stance, and to complete Terry's look, he has this one long ponytail. And the tip there is tied up by those red orbs that make up the currency used in Silksong. It'd be a cocky ant that is actually kinda chill, like he thinks he's the best, but also thinks you're pretty cool, you know, that's his vibe. Number 70, Kazuya. The idea I had for Kazuya is that he's another like void warrior created by the Pale King, but he sort of went rogue and removed his chest armor, now only using it on his legs and arms there. His head is shaped like Kazuya's crazy hair, and he has a long sharp tail as a reference to Kazuya's demon form. You'd find him rampaging around the map, and you'd have to defeat him to calm him down, after which he'd finally regain some conscience. Number 71, Piranha Plant. This is a weird one, but I based Piranha Plant on this one plant enemy that jumps up to catch you, except I painted it red. That's kinda it. But she's on top of this cute green insect, which is how she moves around, and he's just a reference to the green Mario pipes that piranha plants come out of in the games. Honestly, she's kind of an oddity. You'd find her walking around the map weirdly, and when you try to hit her, just nothing happens, you know, just kind of pogo on her a bit and let her go on her way to whatever it is, just going. Number 72, Duck Hunt. The Duck Hunt dog was based on the grubs you rescue in the first game. All I did was make this snout a lot longer and give him some floppy little ears there that are basically just extra hands really, just placed there to look like dog ears, because he's an anomaly. I love him. And the duck is one of those flying enemies you find in Silksong, which automatically makes him hittable. But I love him, then he has purple wings and a purple gel sack, I guess. That's kinda gross. They're just a cute duo that you find around and you can give him a quick pet. Number 73, Chrom, Lucina, and Marv. Yeah, this is kind of a 3-for-1 combo, because like these 3 characters are so similar, considering they're all related, so that gave me this idea for them to be this trio, kinda like the Mantis Lords. But here it's like Lucina and Marv are 2 siblings that you fight against, and after defeating them, their father Chrom comes up as the much harder second phase of the boss fight, which I guess is like an inverse of how with the Mantis Lords, first you fight one of them, and then you fight 2 of them at the same time. Their designs are pretty similar to each other, I just made their faces have horns that reflect the hair that the characters have originally, and they all have these swords made out of bones, which are pretty similar too, but with some small variations. After fighting them, they reveal some lore to you. What that lore is, I don't know, man. Number 74, Roy. This is another goofy one. Honestly, I was struggling a lot with what to do with Roy. But in the end, I thought it'd be funny and a bit unique to have him be a bigger variation of this one enemy species from Silksong. The head is pretty similar, I just added Roy's blue bandana to it, and he's wearing some armor made out of bug shells and a red and blue cape. And he also has a sword made out of bones. I mean, basically anything that I've drawn here today that has this exact color here is made out of bones, so yeah. He's like a guard that protects around the area before you find Chrom and his kids, but instead of fighting him, you just like talk things out with him. Number 75, Steve. Okay, so this is not actually Steve. I sort of replaced Steve with a creeper. I just figured, you know, they're from the same game, and I thought this idea was pretty cute not to use it. So in the first Hollow Knight, there's this one enemy that's filled with infection that just explodes when he gets near you. So this is pretty much the same, but I shaped him like a cute creeper. He has a square-ish head and a fluffy green body, and 4 thin bug legs sticking out at the end there. And yeah, he's just an enemy that gets close to you and explodes on your face. Yeah. Number 76, King K. Rool. This is another one that I'm really proud of. K. Rool here is basically like a king to the cockroaches that you find in Silksong. They have this long snout with sharp teeth that is sort of greenish, so I thought it was the perfect fit. They also have these brown cloaks that I thought would work well as K. Rool's cape. His big golden belly is made out of a gong, sort of like Sherba's head, and he has 2 really sharp claws as hands. And his head is sort of like open in the top top there, which makes the shape of K-Rool's crown, with some stinky gas leaking out of the top there too. It'd basically be a boss you'd find after fighting through many armies of cockroaches, but laugh and talk smack about you on the spot and then, difficult boss fight. Number 77, Ice Climbers. This one is pretty goofy too, but they're like supposed to be smaller and cuter versions of the hunter character, sorta like they're his children. The design is pretty similar too, it's basically little baby hunters with pink and blue leaves instead of the green ones he has, with those thin skeleton-like black bodies too. And they have these big pieces of wood there to serve as their hammers, kinda like what DDD uses too. I also made one of them slightly taller too, just to have a bit more variation on the silhouette of them together. It'd be two sibling characters you'd find that would give you their version of the hunter genre, which you'd use to document all the creatures you come across in the world. Number 78, Bayonetta. Bayonetta here is sort of an original creature. I just sorta used the butterfly wings that Marisa has and made her into this tall butterfly gal with 4 arms. I don't know, I think she turned out pretty cool, even if she kinda has a bit more detail than most Hollow Knight enemies have, but she's kinda special, She'd be like an optional boss fight that gives you a really strong charm afterwards, and she'd be all impressed by how strong you are, and would then open a shop that you go to upgrade your charms or something like that. Number 79, Dark Samus. So she's a few different things at the same time. The deep black parts of her body are like the corpse of an ancient knight, with the helmet and the ribs there being part of that, But then that corpse was possessed by a bunch of parasites, so that's why she has a bunch of tentacles. But then this parasite-infested corpse got infected by pure lifeblood, so that's why she has these big blue bubbles around her body. The one on her arm specifically would serve as a cannon. And in the end, I think the soul of this ancient knight would itself possess this body that itself was infested by parasites and lifeblood. So that's a lot of lore for one character in this project, and she'd be a hidden boss you'd find in a lifeblood infested area. Number 80, Ridley. His main inspiration was Nosk. I thought he would just have the perfect body type and shape to fit Ridley really well. I mean, it's so similar. So what I did was add this sharp tail to mirror Ridley's and give him the wings that Nosk has in his winged Nosk battle. And of course, instead of having a fake knight or hornet as a head, he has an actual, head that is black as well to match his body, and is shaped like Ridley's head, of course. It'd be one of the main and most difficult boss battles you'd have in your journey, and Samus herself would appear at one point to help you defeat him. Number 81, Min Min. So what I thought for Min Min initially was for her to have a head similar to Sherma, with the golden plate head and that sort of cloak wrapped around her head too. I just added some noodle-like hair, so it felt more like Min Min. Her body is more original, being a quirky sort of bug body, and her arms are actually made out of silk, and I mean the really important silk that is all over silksong and stuff. And the weapons she has on her arms, one of them is a skull that is supposed to look like her dragon arm, and the other is this maze-like bug thing that is pretty much the same one that the False Knight has in his boss fight, that later turns out to be a real living bug. She'd be an NPC that teaches you silk-related abilities, and you can fight her for training too if you want, and she uses her stretchy arms as weapons and stuff. Number 82, Rosalina. Rosalina's main inspiration was the Nyleth boss character from Silksong. I just looked at her hair and sort of slightly curvaceous body, I guess, and I thought I could shape those around to look like Rosalina. She's like this ethereal being that has these flowing arms and dress made out of leaves. I mean, a lot of her is just made out of leaves, just like Nyleth. Nyleth is really aggressive though. Rosalina here would be this ethereal, motherly figure that would appear to give you guidance. She'd be like a very important ally. Number 83, Sephiroth. I wasn't super sure what to do with Sephiroth at first, but I came up with this idea to have him be a mantis, which is fitting considering the mantis tribe is composed of fierce warriors. His antennas there are supposed to have the silhouette of Sephiroth's quirky anime hair, and his actual hair back there is similar to Palutina's, being some pieces of cloth instead of actual hair. I gave him the metal shoulder pads that Sephiroth has too, while making them a bit more bug-like. Has a long neck since most mantis characters have that, and a long bug abdomen covered by a black cloak to mirror Sephiroth's own black cloak. And of course his nail is like super long, just like Sephiroth's quirky katana. And I think he turned out pretty cool and unique. It'd be another secret boss fight that would probably be the hardest one in the game, I don't know. Number 84, Sora. And the last one is Sora from Kingdom Hearts, which was another one I just kinda didn't know what to do with. But then I remembered these enemies made out of wood, silksong, and I thought their spiky heads kinda could look like Sora's hair. So there you go, I just modeled the head shape around to make it look like Sora. And I think they turned out pretty unique, especially with those bulging bug eyes there. Has 2 wings that I painted yellow just to add to Sora's original color palette, and I gave these red shorts that are supposed to be similar to Hornet's red cloak. And his keyblade is actually a really big simple key, like it's basically the same design that the simple key item in Silksong has, but really big, which I thought turned out pretty cool. It'd be actually the most well hidden and hard to find character in your journey, and he very politely asks you if you'd like to battle him. And that battle would be maybe the hardest one. I don't know if the Sephiroth one would be the hardest or this one, so let me know what you think in the comments. And alright, with that, we're finally finished. Oh my god, this took so long, dude. My life has just been hectic, you know, otherwise I probably could have done this kinda sooner, I don't know. Here's every Smash character reimagined as a Hollow Knight bug. I think they'd fill in the roster of a game very nicely. And I hope you think so as well, cause like I said, art projects like this take a lot of time and effort, so just, you know, please subscribe, like the video, all that, and please make sure to comment which character you like the best here. Like, that's not even just YouTube talk, I legit would be delighted to know that. Feedback is appreciated, and well, I really hope you liked the video. Thanks again to my friend Bree for contributing to this video. Please go check out all her socials and stuff, and yeah, I'm pretty happy for our big lineup here of Hollow Knight Smash characters. This was a really fun passion project to work on. Feel free to leave suggestions for future projects I could work on, and I'll get you the Smash Bros. Pokemon region one day, I promise. Anyway, yeah, bye.